today's video. In today's video, we are starting a new alternate future series. And as you can tell, it's alternate future of a world I made up. And yeah, so as you can see, throughout the world, there's different pacts, alliances, and neutral countries. But what's going to surprise you, some different ideologies are possibly in alliances, but for the most part, it's just the same. As you can see, this is the Moscow Pact, the World Defense Pact, African Defense Pact, I think, and so on. Let's go to the ideologies. As you can tell, what's blue is a democracy. And democracies, as we know, are democratic. So then we have monarchies or empires are yellow. As you can tell, yeah. And then we have fascist nations in this world, including, what do I call it? Novgorod, Central China, Manchukuo. We have Somalia, Darfur, Kurdistan. A few of the nations that broke free I considered fascist/nationalistic. Yeah, too. Yeah, that's kind of it. Communism is just communist, as we know. And then junta is just overthrown countries. Yep, I'm just going to call it all junta. And let's look at the alliances, as we have the World Defense Pact, the WDP. New Axis is just fascist nations, as you could guess. The Imperial African Treaty Organization, IATO, or with these nations, right? IATO. The African Treaty Organization is ATO, or African Treaty Organization. Sahel Defense Pact, or SDP, are the juntas, and Moscow Pact are the communists. And yeah, as you can tell, there's probably going to be a few rivalries. Let's go back to this map. As you can see, Turkey and Kurdistan, different alliances, but look at Greece. They also have this territory. Bulgaria expanded, and we have Constantinople. But we have the North and South Yugoslavia. I'm going to look at ideologies. Yeah, there's a bit of mistakes, but like this map, I'm probably going to fix because I took a photo of it and so on. I ended up saving this, I guess. And look at the borders. Yep, they're ruined. And yeah. Let's look at Tibet. Tibet's there. Yeah, China is a mess. So is Mongolia. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Mongolia might expand. But let's look at Turkey. Where would they expand most likely? Into Kurdistan, you would think. But they can't because it's protected by an alliance. Then let's look at Nigeria. The populous states are the ones they are competing against. They'll keep editing the alliance map just to keep all the alliances in. And two things are worth noting. See there? The Imperial League, I mean, not this one, that one, needs to expand into Central America to connect itself. But I'd say Nigeria would be willing to invade these and occupy these southern nations. So let's go back to the regular map, and let's go to the first thing that happened. The Imperial League decides war is a good idea. And they don't know if they should do it. There's two ways this could go. They're planning on just sending these two nations to the front line. And the rest of the nations will just support at this point because they think they're going to win and dominate in this war. So they try it. Let's see, how's their world go? And so I will fix the alliance map after every video just so it makes sense and is accurate. Because if you don't, then it will just fall behind. And so with Mexico being the ones who were most ready, they're both ready, but one has better geography than the other. Because for Colombia, they need to get through the Darien Gap, which is not the best area of land. And, yeah. Colombia starts, Mexico does this. And Mexico's already off to a better start. As Colombia is barely moving north. Well, that's Gran Colombia, in case I call it wrong. Then there's Peru, Bolivia. And then, yeah. Well, then moving up to the Panama Canal. Oh, wait, that might not be in this universe. Yeah, it is. I decide so. And, yeah. This used to be... I use the same map as we use for the base. With Gran Colombia's strength now picking up, as they move up this area much faster, they have finally made their gains closer to Mexico's distance. But due to geography, they're unable to occupy as much land, simply because it's narrower down there, as this is technically an isthmus. If you think of it. The more you think of it. But yeah. And so, with the fall of Central America, a border is agreed upon. Yes, these are imperialistic nations. Just to let you know, they're not, like, say, democracies. They come up with a border there, mostly because Mexico claims they did the harder work and that they should be rewarded accordingly. The League basically has vote on what they should do, and this is what comes forth. New change and new reality. The World Defense League puts hefty sanctions on them, with Italy quickly deciding to join the communist nations. Well, this is Naples. And then Libya ends up fighting a war, with the communists declaring war on the other half. One sec, let's see what it is again. Okay, it's communist versus democracy, with this becoming a proxy war very quick, with the communists supporting the red and the democracies of the world supporting the democracy. The World Defense League quickly decides sanctions are necessary in order to prevent the expansion its agenda of the east part. That's basically is like the Korean War. Although, as we can tell, it's pretty strong in the world defense's favor. But at this point, they're not getting much aid in yet. And Algeria is also supplying them. Israel supplies the opposite. Well, that's actually the Levant, just to let you know. Or they push them back in the north. In the south. But with overwhelmingly, let's say the technologies are pretty similar. This is really not looking so great. And so, with the failure of these nations, with the failure of the communists, it's starting to look more and more like a war that won't be won anytime soon. Really hoping that aid stops flowing in is the communists. But with aid demanded to start flowing in faster by the east. By the eastern half. Oh my god, west is attacking east, I mean. That's odd to say. But yes, this is a different world. And nobody really understands how it's going. Not going the way that the West, which is actually the stronger half, is not winning already. Or is said to be the stronger half. The Algerian support is starting to not be as good. With a quick crossover of the border by the south. In this alternate world. And so, this really was just a distraction from the main front. So they defend it hard enough that it's hard for them. But with them having to move supplies and stuff out of the north, they're really in danger in the north. Alternate future of an alternate world. And a quick push to its capital of Tripoli. And then encirclement of Tripoli. And then the taking came, as you guys can tell. But this side is still fighting. And with Algeria not being the strongest. But then this war, basically, with them being this close to Algeria, Algeria basically enters the war on the side of them. But some areas of the African Pact don't agree to this. As quickly, Egypt and Chad start saying stuff about it. And guess who else? Everybody in the alliance, basically. Let's look to make sure that's right. Yep. Everyone in the alliance. So everyone in the alliance starts criticizing this and planning moves forward. With Egypt intervening directly. Because Algeria is the strongest country, basically. With all the Western support, too. And soon after, they cross into East Libya. And East Libya isn't having the best time. Why? Because this invasion is much stronger. But with Egypt, along with Western support, manages to push this all the way back. With them managing in the south and the north. In this alternate world, nothing makes sense, really. With Algeria realizing this is unwinnable, they're not sure what to do. It's kind of late to leave a war you entered. They don't want to have to deal with the consequences of this. Of being looked bad because they let their ally die. And being kicked out of this alliance. So that's something. With Algeria attempting another time, the re-establishment of this nation seeming unlikely. As they move right to the Algerian border, they send an ultimatum saying, leave this war or get punished. And Algeria leaves, and they are also kicked out of the African Defense Pact. African Treaty Organization, I should say. Asia. With fascist China deciding their best move is to invade Yunnan. Why is this a good move? Because they decide so. And this is a success. They literally march right through. With Yunnan requesting that part be annexed by the Republic of China, basically. Now this Republic marching peacekeeping troops all the way to the front line. And this is where a treaty is. Yunnan was divided in two. Tensions started rising in another area of the world. And also, before we go to where the tension was, please subscribe, as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could, please subscribe. And now let's get into it. Eritrea annexes what's left of Djibouti, and the war continues to move somewhere else, which is Nigeria declaring war on two parts of its country. And they offer Cameroon money and stuff if they invade what left them. I don't know what this is called. Let's call it South. We'll call this Southwest. No, Southeast and Southwest. Nigeria, and I don't know what that was supposed to be called. And Ambazonia. They all declare war on these nations, which at first they're not ready for the war, which is not a surprise. As, let's see, what countries send support to them? That would include these countries, places that broke away at some point. All of these nations, right guys? So, yeah. All of the democratic nations support them. But on the contrary, the fascists, I need to check what their ideologies are. Fascist, yep, one of them is fascist, the other is communist. So yeah, communist and fascist nations both decide to support this side. Meanwhile, yeah, as nations they like are on the side. But let's not get too carried away, because if you look at support, you can clearly tell who has the advantage. with more of the communist nations deciding to support that side. But Kurdistan is the exception, as they're pro-Western but yet still fascist. I don't understand that, but yeah. With Cameroon managing to take big offensives in the Ambazonia. This is where it turns for the worse, due to numerical supremacy, because a lot of people live in this area. Most of Nigeria, I believe, live in this area. So yeah. With them quickly repelled once these countries got ready. Their first goal really is to win in Nigeria. But the only thing is, it's not fast because, yeah. Because of how, yeah. And so they move their troops over this way to cut these two countries off, making it harder for them to supply both nations. And so they invade the north. Their real goal is that they surrender, and so, yeah. After months of fighting, they eventually give up and just surrender, and a few things happen, including the communists being upset. But that's one thing to deal with later. And so, yeah. Wondering what's going on in Iraq, but yeah, nothing did happen. With Tibet being pretty strong, though, with Mongolia being a change. With Inner Mongolia being annexed to Mongolia. China's a bit infuriated about this. Or the communist China even boycotts this. But nothing happens. Siberia being just an area of ice nobody's interested in them for some reason. But Serbia is becoming more and more indifferent with its opinions. And this is an alternate world. I hope you enjoyed. If this gets 50 views, I will decide on doing another one for this alternate world. And I hope you've seen this map before. But yeah. Now let's look around. Anything else happen? Unless you mean Florida having been put back to its alliance. But Peru, Bolivia joins this alliance, and Argentina still hasn't decided what to do. But what's another nation that joins? Darfur, seeing its independence could be threatened. And who else? Benin. They get Thailand. Because Thailand does do this. They get Timor and Vietnam fearing its independence. What do the communists get? Well, the Caucasus Republic ends up joining. Ideologies. Vietnam may be communist, but it still joined the alliance. In Siberia, not much worried. Anybody joining this union? Yep. Lasado. Anybody join the Fascist League? No. Nobody decides to, because who wants to? And so, with Cameroon being overthrown along with Nigeria, the ideologies have shifted, guys. Thank you for watching today's video, as that means great, because we are trying a new thing. Do you guys like it? Please say if you liked it and what you thought was good about this series. If you didn't like it, say, and yeah, sorry about that interruption. But that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper, pretty much out. Bye, guys. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper, out. Bye.